So
What I said was.
So welcome back. As you can tell, we have some technical difficulties, but that's normal anymore. So yeah, we're doing Kratos
I
versus.
advise taking notes, Joe.
Yeah, it is helpful. I didn't have to during that last match, but I know I'm going to have to for some of these stuff. But so Kratos versus Captain Blasto. I will be representing Kratos, which was one of our fan votes. And Sean actually was the one who picked Captain Blasto. So,
I was.
And we're calling this the Battle of Sony mascots.
Yep. What did we just have in Game 1 Kratos?
Yes, Game 1 Kratos.
And Game 1 and only Captain Blasto.
And only. That sounded so defeated.
Oh, it was.
Okay, so Sean, why don't you start us off with some Captain Blasto stuff? And
Captain Blasto.
Oh, I should probably get that timer ready. Oh, thank you.
So, Captain Blasto, just real short because I don't have much time, is he's basically, I'd say, Flash Gordon, Johnny Bravo. So you got that image in your mind. Much like any spacefaring hero, he has a phaser, a photon blaster, that shoots energy. It also has ice beam. It has a flamethrower. And of course, he has the nuke, which is his giant bomb. So he does have at least a small assortment of weapons. He fights alien creatures, so he's not just facing humans. He may not have ever faced a god or a demigod, since we're going with the first game.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, one, his banter will be enough to throw Kratos off completely.
Interesting choice.
That's a nice curveball.
I mean, we've got Phil Hartman voicing the character. I think Phil Hartman can win over anybody with his words. But I think that will also make him unassuming. And I feel like if anyone is going to brush off Captain Blasto, it's going to be Kratos. Which I feel like Captain Blasto will be able to get in a lot of damage. We have the varying kinds. We have both the regular blasts. We could always freeze Kratos and then hit him with that Grand Slam home run nuke shot. And hopefully my banter is enough to get in and get that killing blow.
Yeah, 15 seconds. Anything else?
R.I.P. Phil Hartman.
Yeah. We missed you, buddy. In all reality, I gotta agree. Phil Hartman was a great actor.
Where would I recognize Phil Hartman?
Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You might remember me from such films as The Erotic Adventures of Hercules and
SNL, Small Soldiers.
If I saw his face.
Jingle All the Way.
Thank you. That was what I was thinking of. I mean, literally, he did.
Don't touch
so
my
much.
cookies.
Yeah, I can't picture his face, but if somebody showed me, I might be able to.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
show you afterwards. Don't worry.
Yeah, you'll know him as soon as you see him.
Are we doing
ready?
are we doing judge questions or are we going to
We'll wait. We'll let Alex go.
We let our first opening arguments, and then you ask
Okay,
questions.
no, that's fine.
So, as far as Kratos from God of War 1, so I played it a long time ago, it's been a while, but I was doing a little research before this, and the biggest factor that I'm saying makes Kratos the winner here, no matter what, is the fact that he was cursed by Zeus to be immortal. He cannot die. That is his punishment. So, while yes, in the first game, Ares was controlling him and made him kill his wife and son, and that put him on his path to kill Ares and get away from the power of the gods, he was still a demigod, so he had near invulnerability as far as damage. He has super strength, super speed. He's essentially a superhero because he is a demigod. He also has those badass two-sword things, let's be honest. That's pretty cool. But where I definitely, I can see, as far as Captain Blasto having the freeze ray, I can see that being a legitimate, hindrance. The fact that Kratos is doomed to never die, at least in this point in history, in his games, he's destined, he's not allowed to die. He can get close to death, but he will never actually die. That I'm putting it in as that's his sole reason that he's winning, is because he can't take all this damage. He can survive, and no matter what, he's still, at the end of the day, going to live. So I think he would just outweigh Captain Blasto. Captain Blasto can send everything at him, but Kratos isn't dying. Kratos is staying there. Also, we've seen him, especially in that first game, he goes full on rage and just beats the crap out of you with those weapons. Like, he killed a god. Captain Blasto is not a god. No offense. Like, no offense to Captain Blasto or to Phil Hartman, but he's not a god. Kratos does have the power to fight the gods. I'm putting that out there. So that's my piece on it. How much do I have? Oh, perfect. R.I.P. Phil Hartman.
Do you want to ask me questions first, or do you want me to go first?
I have a couple questions. Tell me about Captain Blasto's nuke. Like how big is it? What's like, I don't know anything about it.
It's your stereotypical video game giant bomb.
So it'd be
one of those
comparable to
where
nuclear warhead.
pretty much one of those where it wipes out
Like a
all
whole
enemies on the screen, basically.
Okay.
So if we get Kratos frozen and I hit him with the nuke, I'm not going to kill him, but if I have enough to incapacitate him and walk away, I think that's a victory.
Is it
I'd
like,
say so, because if we let the invulnerability be the key, we might as well just end the tournament now.
I was going to say, yeah. Well, I'm thinking of a way to get around that is the nuke like an actual like real world thermonuclear type thing where it can reduce Kratos to atoms? Because I feel like that kind of gets around the forbidden from death type thing.
He's not
hard
dead, he's just
hard to say with the PlayStation graphics, but yes, I believe so. It's one of those where it wipes out everyone and they kind of flash and then disappear.
Yeah, take nuke
So-
kind of the literal definition.
You know, because I feel like if Kratos is forbidden to die but his body is destroyed, you could argue that counts as a win for Blasto, and his punishment will just be carried out through some other form of like reincarnation or
Basically,
something
Kratos
like
can't
that.
fight anymore. Like he's
Yeah.
knocked out.
Like
Yeah.
or like
TKO.
Yeah.
or he's forced to continue to exist as a bodiless like ghost type creature or something.
Okay. Makes sense. I like that question. You have any others, or do you want me to go?
No, you
So, hand-to-hand combat, I'm gonna justify as within 6 feet. Kratos wins.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
Zero hand-to-hand
Does-
combat for Blasto.
Kratos have any ranged attacks that don't cost him losing his swords.
What's the range of the
That
sword?
doesn't cost him losing the swords? No. Not that I remember. Because the blades are his primary weapon. Yes, he has that weird like tether thing, like nunchucks, where you can throw them out, but he doesn't have them then. They're out of his hands, so he doesn't really have that range. And I'll definitely give that much to Captain Blasto here, as he has the range where Kratos is all close quarters.
It's been a long time since I've played God of War, but I could have sworn I recall he's like he can throw the swords out while they're still chained to him, so he's still under.
They're still coming back, but
so he's still under control of them. So I wouldn't say that he's weaponless.
But in my mind, that's time. If Blasto can get away from them, the freeze ray is continuously on him.
that's getting Kratos out while his weapon is not there. So I get where you're coming from.
Right.
Can the fire associated with the swords and the chains defeat the freeze ray? Like if he gets frozen, can he like melt himself?
At that point, they become defensive weapons, which I argue, or I think at least, and you guys can argue if I'm wrong, would help Captain Blasto because he's not attacking Blasto. Kratos wins by getting up onto him.
Yeah. Literally.
So if
he
he's-
just has a blast.
Yeah. So
The
if-
other thing that I will say is a downside for him is he doesn't have much evasive. So
Yeah.
he's a big guy. He takes the damage. He doesn't dodge.
Right. Kratos has to
Despite
get
the
in
fact,
to kill him.
and as much as one of his super abilities is he's very nimble and things like that. Knowing the first game, you have a dodge roll, and that's it. So he's not, at least at that point, he's not super agile. His only defensive is rolling out of the way, and it's much like every early PS2 dodge roll. It's not very far. It's not super effective.
So question, and neither of you might know this. If he throws his swords out and they're on the chain like Scorpion type from Mortal Kombat, can he do a dodge roll?
I don't.
Or
think
is
so.
he
I don't think so.
locked?
I think he's kind of stuck in place when he's.
I think in the first game mechanics, he was there
Yeah.
until they came back.
Because that almost helps Blasto then. If you're using your
Yeah.
chains as defense like Joe said, you can't move, so you're frozen for a few seconds, which if the ice ray doesn't help, like if that doesn't completely freeze him, does it at least slow him down?
I would think that would logically slow Kratos down even a little bit.
Because Kratos has the strength and the speed.
Yeah.
So to me, it's trying to get Kratos to Blasto to kill him.
And like I said, we've got that intangible of the banter while he's attacking you.
It does have banter.
I don't think the banter actually matters because Kratos has that Spartan attitude where he's just like
He's also got pride.
That's the only thing I can
He
think of where the
does.
banter comes in.
He
If
is a
he
Spartan,
pisses
yeah.
Kratos off, does that put Kratos off his game?
I think if he pisses him off, it pushes Kratos more on his game.
Yeah, I was gonna say
He
Kratos
charges
seems,
in.
Kratos seems to operate at a higher intensity when he's angrier.
So,
But does that make him more accurate?
I think
because he still doesn't have. Because the thing that keeps coming back to me is the ice beam and how fast that's gonna freeze Kratos.
because I think that's
Because
the
even
only
if he's
way-
charging in, if he's coming at like a straight line enraged, if he can get that freeze ray on him and freeze him, and the nuke eliminates him,
Mhm.
that's where I'm at now. Is Kratos faster than he can be frozen?
Well, I mean, I feel like that's almost.
How accurate is Blasto? Is that
That's the deciding
And what
factor.
range
With-
does he have?
With the
how does that gun work?
with the actual ice, it's your normal, 3D where you have to be close enough to them. So it's probably within that 6 feet. He has to be in there to get into that
So
close
like
range.
it sprays a mist of
Yeah.
ice. It's not like a chunk of ice that goes out and freezes
Right.
where he is. Okay, that's important.
That's very important.
I don't know. The Kratos blades are quite large. Can
What
you use those
about-
to block that ice? Or-
What
yeah.
about
I wouldn't think so.
the nuke? Is that further than the ice, or is that similar to the ice where they gotta be?
I think it's. I haven't.
Because even if he's
forever,
not
but
frozen, if he hits him
it's
with
like-
that nuke,
It's like a pitch, basically. So, and it does no damage to him. So he's not affected by it. So
Captain Blasto.
Captain Blasto isn't affected by it.
the lack of ranged is hurting Kratos in my mind in this
Yeah.
battle.
Yeah.
Because he has, it's not bullets.
Yeah.
If it was bullets, I feel like Kratos could shake them off.
Right.
But we're dealing with something that's other than bullets. We got ice and a nuke. I'm not even worried
Right.
about the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
Like the ice,
I'm defending Kratos, and I have
Yeah.
to say the fact that Kratos does not, at least at this point, does not have a real range.
Mhm.
That is kind of a downfall, which is why I'll be honest. My laurels that I'm resting on is that he has resistance and invulnerability and things like that. Like he will not die, but at the same time, I can definitely see
I
where.
mean, but he doesn't have to have a ton of range. Like, what's the range on the chain swords compared to
I
Captain
was gonna say
Blasto's freezer?
across the entire screen.
Because
Yeah.
that range is much larger than even
Right.
6 feet of
It is,
freeze
but
ray
but he doesn't
and-
have control when they're out.
But
he's frozen. We have a nuke.
But it
still.
doesn't matter. That range is so far. He can reach out and hit
let's put it this
Blasto
way.
before Blasto's
If
within
I-
range. Because if Blasto has to throw the nuke, then he's got to be in reasonable throwing range. He might be
Yeah.
able to. I don't know.
Let's be honest.
I feel like he's gonna want to try and freeze. it
Kratos, when throwing them out, if he misses, he has to wait for them to reach their limit to come back.
first. Right.
That's the one problem
So,
I'm having into
yeah.
trying to.
He's stuck in place. So if Kratos throws it and Captain Blasto even just listfully walks to the left and avoids that hit, Kratos is stuck there until they reach their end and come back, which then means that Blasto has that chance to throw the nuke or to get up close where Kratos can't do anything because they're
Right.
on their way back. So realistically, it's very much a situational thing. That is actually the end of my argument, I'll be honest. That is my final piece, is that as long as Kratos is in close range, he's winning this battle no matter what. All he needs is to get nice and close to Captain Blasto once with the blades, and he's done. Because, like I said, Kratos has killed gods
right.
with them.
Once he gets
Yeah.
once he
It's
gets
over.
within that arm's reach.
So that's my piece. That's my final argument. I don't know if Sean has any final arguments or anything, but that's mine.
No, like I said, most of Blasto's game
It's turned out to be
here
a lot harder of a fight
is
than I thought it was
yeah,
gonna be.
I know.
like I said, he's going to be picking and moving. Like he's going to be literally taking shots as he closes the gap, and 2, he's going to be taking pot shots, at his character and just criticizing him.
My
Also, he can save Uranus.
my final question is, what's the relative move speed of both of these guys?
I'd say Kratos is probably a hair faster, but they're still slow.
They're both pretty evenly matched.
Kratos does have godly speed, but that's like digging into it.
If they're
It's not
racing-
natural.
If they're racing at each other, Kratos is reaching Blasto first.
Yeah,
We got PlayStation 2 speed versus PlayStation 1.
that's the first thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way speed versus speed Blasto can beat Kratos.
wins.
But again, like that hamper of once the swords are out, he has to wait. Even if that's a 2-second time.
That's 2
Blasto's
seconds that
close.
Blasto has that Kratos doesn't. So yeah.
Alright, so my vote, based purely on the range, I gotta go to Blasto. When we first saw this, I was 100% behind Kratos.
I know.
But the different beams and the fact when I learned that Kratos cannot move once the swords leave, that decided my vote for Blasto.
You know, I'm actually really torn. My instinct almost is to go with Kratos because even though we've worked out this, nuke thing where Blasto can technically kill Kratos, if it's speed for speed that Kratos is a little bit faster than Blasto, I feel like the natural inclination is not going to be to go straight for the nuke. I feel like Blasto's going to try and take pot shots at Kratos, which he can just absorb until he gets in close enough, and then he doesn't have to throw the swords from a distance. He can just run straight up to him, and as long as he can close that gap and hack him, which seems more natural, I give it to Kratos.
Okay, so a question to decide the tiebreaker eventually. What is Blasto starting with on the phaser?
I would assume that he's starting with the regular blasts. He has all of the ones that he can switch in literally moments.
I mean, Kratos
it's
is
a quick switch in the game. You just.
Well,
scroll
because that would make sense. He's going to start with the regular blaster.
But he's going to
before
start with just the regular blaster.
he's not going to jump straight to the nuke.
Right. But I was thinking ice beam, fire beam,
Yeah,
defaults the face on.
Yeah, starting with the phaser.
Because even with a quick switch, the fact that we established he could slow Kratos down with the ice is enough that I think he could back up, in my mind, to slow Kratos down enough to switch to a nuke. The ice beam is keeping it from me, is what keeps Blasto in there. But we can go to backup arguments.
I want to hear. I can cast my vote on a character because while I defended Kratos, I am very neutral on this because I'm just defending Kratos. Realistically, Andrew's logic is part of the reason why I would vote Captain Blasto. Is that
the ice beam is weighing over to that side.
It's the fact that he has that versatility. So where that was a problem with the Dragonborn was because there was too many options. And it depended on what you had at that time. Captain Blasto has those available that he can willingly switch between. And it's also the fact that Kratos has that one set.
Right.
So that's where my vote, if I'm voting on it, I'm saying Captain Blasto is the winner here, but that's just me.
Even if Kratos had a slingshot, for God's sakes, I would have to give the vote to Kratos.
Right, yeah.
He's got to get to Blasto.
long range.
Yeah. I give it to Blasto for that reason, because that's the scenario I imagine where Kratos takes a run at Blasto, and Blasto shoots him with his primary weapon. Kratos absorbs it. He gets in too close. He naturally switches to a freeze thing. And if you can freeze him solid, they can do a couple rounds of that before Blasto decides he has to nuke him, and that can actually defeat him.
Talk about a real upset here.
I know. We have our first 12 over 5. We're real March Madness,
right?
Yeah, that's why I told you to take notes, Joe.
Yeah, that made a difference.
Because if Kratos had a viable
range
attack, it's different.
If it was any of the more modern God of War games, he would have won.
Right. Yeah, if it was
the fact that it was first one, that's what made the difference.
Is that what? That's what was specified?
There was no specification.
Kind of like a group vote amongst ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah. So we decided that the only fair way, because again, by the time the third game is, he's full on God. So it's like
It's kind of hard.
kind of unfair. So yeah, we wanted to go for that first game where he still was demigod. But yeah, no. If you have thoughts on Kratos versus Captain Blasto, let us know.
Next matchup
Oh,
is
God.
Barry Burton
versus
Revelation
Lara
2 versus Lara Croft from the PlayStation 1
Yeah.
Tomb Raider game.
Polygonal tits.
We're
That's a
going
weapon in
Polygonal City
themselves.
Laura versus Barry Burton. We are on the opposite end, especially with this next one coming up, because Barry Burton is like middle-aged and Lara Croft is like 20
Young,
years old.
yeah.
Yeah.
Both are armed to the teeth.
It's gonna be an interesting matchup, that's for sure.
Armed.
Well,
Armed
that
to the
video is
Armed
coming
to
to
the
you guys
teeth.
tomorrow, guys. Thank you. If you like it, comment, tell us how much we suck,
Yeah, if you don't
And,
like it, just send it to your enemy.
and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Argue this points like we do. Yeah? So good week.